I really like Made in Abyss. If you don't, that's fine, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. But if you're trying to say that it's a bad show objectively, let me just guide you through all the reasons why it's Anime of the Year. This show was able to rise to popularity despite its streaming program. You know all those shows on YouTube Red that might actually be good but nobody ever watches them because they're on YouTube Red? Made in Abyss could have been one of those, but nope, it still won Anime of the Year, and it is still very, very good. For starters, my favorite part about Made in Abyss is its world building. It has such an interesting world, and it does such a good job of making you want to be in it, even though it is probably the worst place to live ever. That's why I think the only way of appreciating it fully is to see it for yourself. Just please, go watch it. It's very good. 10 out of 10. And with that, there's a spoiler warning, because the second best way to greatly appreciate it is by giving it an episode-by-episode synopsis. But before I start, I really have to tell you to go and support the creators in any way you can. They worked so hard on this to create such a beautiful product that it'd be a crime if they didn't get some kind of compensation for it. At the start of the first episode, Riko is exploring the first layer of the Abyss, with Nat looking for relics when they separate to look in different directions. When Riko comes back to the spot they were supposed to meet, Nat isn't there. He's on a nearby cliff, about to be eaten by a Crimson Splitjaw, who isn't supposed to be in this layer. A laser beam comes out of nowhere and injures the Splitjaw enough to make it retreat. Following the laser's path, Riko finds Reg at the bottom of a slope, after Reg saves her with a Shubdul. Riko quickly finds out Reg is a robot and is fascinated. After getting Reg and Nat back to the surface, Riko has to go to class at Orphan Cave Diver School. She asks the leader to let her go to the deeper levels, and he says no, because Riko is small and scrawny and couldn't even handle one little giant Crimson Splitjaw. Come on, Riko, toughen up! Riko then goes back to her room to feed Reg some nice, homemade, delicious, red-hot coal. She also tries to drill his head open. Nice! After a close run-in with Leader, we find out Reg's main ability. He can extend his arms with cables that can reach up to 40 meters in length. However, this means nothing to a filthy American like myself, so I'll just say his arms can extend about the length of nearly 400 Big Macs. Crazy, I know. Then we're treated to one of the most beautiful sunrises I have ever seen, due in no small part to the music. Just listen to this. And we end the episode with some quick exposition and a beautiful shot of the camera descending into the abyss, as a reminder that for all of the abyss's wonders, it's still the most dangerous environment on the planet, and has a reason for being the only unexplored place still left. This episode is one of the most important examples of a good episode 1. It sets up the world beautifully, it creates a clear place for the characters to go, the abyss, and most importantly, it sets up so many mysteries. Where did Reg come from? Why does he have normal human anatomy? How deep is the abyss, really? Where did all the relics come from? Why are there so many skeletons in the abyss? And why are they all in a praying position? There's no established religion yet, so who or what could they be praying to? I could go on for hours on how many questions just episode 1 poses. And that's the most important thing a first episode should do. Get you asking questions. Well, that can get you invested in the characters, but that's not hard because of the show's chibi art style and perfect duality between Riko and Reg's personalities, with Riko being gung-ho, adventurous, and determined, while Reg is timid, embarrassed easily, and has no real goal so far. But this is only a foundation, so let's move on with the plot to Episode 2. Episode 2 was called Resurrection Festival, but it might as well have been called Sick as OP because... That aside, this episode opens with some of the best exposition I've ever seen, A Guide to the Curse of the Abyss. Along with some great aesthetics of a guidebook, this scene also has a great track playing that makes you on edge, excited, and ready to see what mysteries lie ahead. Returning from the depth's first layer, you experience mild dizziness. From the second layer, nausea, headaches, and numbness of the extremities. From the fourth layer, intense pain throughout the body and bleeding. From the sixth layer and beyond, loss of your humanity, or even death. Ooh, I love it so much. Anyway, the orphans try to find out what Reg is by looking at a book that lists all recorded relics, and Reg isn't in there. Turns out that Reg's body is basically a collection of some very valuable relics, so he is classified as an Aubade, a supreme treasure of the Abyss. However, this also means that if he is found out, he will be taken away, put into storage, and never be spoken about again. This obviously cannot happen, so the orphans devise a plan to get Reg enrolled as a student in Orphan Cave Raider Academy. The plan works, and we get an adorable montage of Reg and Rico's life at Orphan Cave Raider Academy. The compilation ends with Reg's first cave raid in just 3 days. As this is happening, a high-ranking cave raider named Habbo is coming to the surface, carrying something. It's being treated like a great treasure, so we're all wondering what it could be. Finally, we see that it's the white whistle of Rico's mother. Right afterward, we get some good exposition on how cave raiding society works through a really nice puppet show. You see, there's a ranking system based on the color of your whistle. It starts with just having a bell, but then you get a red whistle. After that, it goes blue, moon, black, and then white, the highest rank. And as such, each white whistle is unique in their design. And Rico's mom, Liza the Annihilator, was widely considered to be the greatest of the white whistles. Not only that, but she went into the abyss when Rico was 2 years old and never came back. The only reason the return of her whistle is celebrated is because cave raiders have a thing they call Last Die. Because it is impossible to return from the 6th layer without dying, it tugged at cave raiders' imaginations until they could take it no longer. When a white whistle says they're going down into the abyss to explore the 6th layer and below, it's called their last dive. Anyway, we cut away from the celebrations and see that Rico now has her mom's original white whistle and wants to know more about her. She asks Leader, and Leader goes on a rant on how Liza was a mess of a person, who everyone loved anyway because she was a white whistle. Then, for some reason, Leader thinks it's time to tell Rico why she really needs glasses. You see, Rico's vision is actually 20/20, but she suffers headaches every time she takes the glasses off. The reason for this is that she was actually born inside the abyss. She is only alive because she was kept in a curse-repelling relic until she reached the surface. However, the relic wasn't perfect, so she has headaches every time she takes her glasses off. I'm not sure why this made it in, but I'm always happy with exposition. For some reason, that's my favorite part of any story, seconded only by the climax. After this, Rico goes back to Orphan Cave Raider Academy with a renewed interest in going to the bottom of the abyss. But then she is summoned to go to Cave Raiding HQ. She is shown some papers that came up with her mom's whistle. Among those papers is a drawing of a robot that looks very similar to Reg, and a note saying, "At the Netherworld's bottom, I'll be waiting." After the first episode's plot-light style, it's very nice to see some motivation for going into the abyss, besides, the abyss is real neato. It will make all the hardships they face feel necessary instead of pointless. And it also gets the watcher very excited to see what's at the bottom of the abyss, since it is now 100% confirmed that we are going down there. We open the episode with the aftermath of a Grand Theft paper. Rico and her friends are discussing how they're going to get Rico to her mom, who's presumably at the very bottom of the abyss, except for Nat, who for some reason is adamantly opposed to sending his friend into a giant death pit. However, Rico has made up her mind. She's heading into the abyss and no one can stop her. When the OP rolls, I'm instantly hyped, scared, curious, and ready to see these two kids conquer the abyss. We cut to a drawing of a scorpion that has 7 tails, because regular scorpions just weren't scary enough, I guess. After that, we get a less terrifying beast called an Emperor Shell, who grows up in its eggshell to protect itself from the iron rain that happens in the 6th layer. But then we see the most intriguing shot of all, a description of the robot found in the abyss that looked like Reg. It seemed to be watching Liza intently, but it also didn't seem to be a hollow, whatever that means. But the most intriguing part is that not even Liza knows where this robot came from, leaving Reg's origin a mystery. You know the payoff has to be good when someone who has the title of Liza the Annihilator doesn't know the answer. We then cut to Reg on his first cave raid, getting scolded by Nat for not digging right, so Reg just says screw this and lifts up the ground with his bare hands. You know the abyss has to be cool if it produced a badass thing like Reg. Anyway, under the rock he finds a relic of the abyss, a squishy thing. It doesn't impress Nat, but Reg is fascinated and wants to keep it. Reg reaches into a cave to get more squishy things and runs into a skeleton in prayer. Nat shrugs it off and starts telling Reg a story. Apparently, people have been dying on their birthday recently, one after another. Nat is clearly joking, and Reg doesn't believe him. What with all the death and skeletons so far, it's really nice to see a nice slice of life scene. Anyway, even though Reg doesn't believe in the birthday death disease, he does believe that the answers are hidden at the bottom of the abyss. This freaks out Nat, and he goes on a rant on how he's opposed to throwing his friends into the bottomless death pit. We cut away from them, and Rico seems pretty bummed out today, and the leader takes notice. Suddenly, it's sunset, and they have to climb back out. Reg is bummed that his memory didn't come back after going back into the abyss, and starts to think about other possible solutions. but not before having to stop for Net, who's barfing to do with the Curse of the Abyss. The music, the sound design, the voice acting, the animation, it all comes together to make this scene something truly unnerving. Nat is clearly incapacitated by the Curse of the Abyss, and that's only on the first layer. Anyway, Nat says he's fine, while clearly being not fine, and Reg starts to question his humanity. After all, the curse doesn't affect him. Is he nothing more than a really expensive relic? What even is he? He wants to know, and he knows that all the answers lie at the bottom of the abyss. He gets back to Orphan Cave Raider Academy, and his friends are discussing the date Riko is going to descend. She says she's going tomorrow, and that she's already packed all her things. This alarms Nat, who for some reason is still opposed to sending his friends down the death pit. He doesn't get a word in, though, because Reg announces that he too is going down with Riko. This alarms everyone, who all thought Reg was on the side of not letting Riko go into the death pit, but Reg is just as cocksure as Riko. Just as Riko wants to find her mom, Reg wants to find answers. Shiki is also on the side of letting Riko go into the death pit, so she reveals that she stole the latest rough map of the Netherworld. It shows the current state of the Abyss, with all updated information, and we are treated to some great world building in the form of a map. I swear, any scene exploring a map is like fan service, just for me. I love them so much, and this scene is no different. We'll see all those layers eventually, but so I'll let you read up on the wiki for the specifics about the Abyss's layers. After the rundown of the Abyss, Nat is still against throwing his friends into the bottomless death pit. Jeez, what a lame-o. But then he goes too far and says that Riko's mom died a long time ago. Riko runs away, and we cut to everyone but Nat preparing for Riko and Reg's descent. But before Reg leaves, he goes to check up on Kiui, the little kid who's still a belle, and warns him about the baby birthday death disease. But on his way back, he runs into Leader. Leader believes the story about a bathroom, but it's implied that Riko knows what Reg is trying to do. How sly of him. It's almost like... I knew it! Eventually, Reg gets to the Warp District and they meet up with someone. I knew it! Nat apologizes, and we make our way to the jumping off point as we learn about Nat. Turns out, the kid had a pretty rough right, and has a good reason to not want to throw his friends into the bottomless death pit. Who'd have thunk it? Anyway, they make their way to the drop-off point and make some last-minute preparations, but then Riko starts thanking Nat for bringing them here, and this kicks off one of the most emotional scenes in the show. Nat is brought to tears with the thought of leaving Riko forever, and he tries his best to say goodbye, but he can't quite spit it out. Then, Riko grabs both of Nat's hands and the camera reveals that she is even more tearful about this than Nat. She tries to say goodbye in the only way she knows how, with the help of the Abyss. This scene had me thinking about it for days, and it's all thanks to the music and voice actors. They did a really good job. After this, the Warp District starts to wake up, so they make their final goodbyes as Riko and Reg descend into the Abyss. Reg's arm goes taut, and he lets go, disappearing into the darkness of the Abyss. This episode is worth a watch just for the ending scene, but you really need to see the full episode to understand the weight of it. It's truly inspiring how much emotion they were able to pack into it, and the build-up is just perfect. Thumbs up. Part 2 is in the works, so subscribe and ring the bell as we continue our journey into the Abyss. Bye!